Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, Can I Get Rid of Emotions That I Do Not Want? Well, actually, this is a question somebody asked me that says, Good morning, Nick. How can I get rid of emotions I don't want? If I repress them, I don't feel well. How can I get rid of thoughts I don't want to have? But I don't know how to get them out of my mind, and they make me feel bad. And then I'm going to share a quick answer that I offered in writing, and then we'll elaborate. I said, the problem is that you are fighting them. The objective is not for the emotions to go away, but simply to be able to see them as they arise. When you fight against something, you give it power, you give it reality. But if you observe them without judging them, without expecting them to go away or anything like that, they continue on their course because life is constant movement. What comes in goes out, and what goes up comes down. But if you keep giving attention to what comes in, it stays. Now, let's elaborate a bit on that. That is what I refer to as a superficial suggestion, because then we kept having a conversation. The objective is not to fight or not fight the thoughts. It's not about resisting or not resisting emotions. And it's not about just let them be so they can go away. It's about knowing who I am. Because if that is overlooked, that may seem like a strategy, a suggestion. So if I just let them be, life happens, and that's fine. But who are you? Who are those emotions are for? Who are those thoughts are for? In other words, when there's a recognition that I am, which is not a personal recognition, by the way, it's just what is, emotions appear. And if you don't judge them, if the mind does not engage in trying to give meaning to any of them, it's just like everything else. It's a passing cloud, you see? But when there's a strong identification with this I that I claim to be, then the emotions are my emotions, they have to do with me, the thoughts are about me and whatever, and then we get completely lost, literally lost in the drama, in the play. But what happens when there's a knowing that I am, not this individual, not this seeming person, but this resting in the being that I am, then it's like you're the space and everything comes and goes. And every seeming threat has to do with the individual and usually comes down to the supposedly death. My fear of dying is what leads me to try to protect myself from everything, because everything could be a threat to this little me. You see? But when there's a recognition that there's no me, that all that there is, what could die? You see? All that there is presence, which you're resting in right now. We are resting in. As a matter of fact, we are it. I'm not resting in beingness. I am being, and so are you. You cannot not be. Try not to be. Give it a shot. Try. Try not to be. You see, you cannot not be. You're being all the time. The problem is because the identification with the thought, with the mind, you think that you're being someone. But in reality, beingness is what is. If I ask you who are you, and you eliminate the conceptual mind, all you can say is that a cluster of feelings, sensations, whatever, what am I? I don't know. Well, those feelings, sensations, and thoughts, they're just appearances that have no power over you as essence. They seem to have power over the thought that says I am an individual, you see? But they don't have power over the essence of what you are, because all of that seems to appear in you. They are not you, and they cannot affect you. They seem to appear in you. When you're sleeping and you're dreaming, everything that happens in the dream appears in you, in the mind, but they are not you, because when you wake up from the dream, all the dream itself disappears. If you were the dream, then you would disappear too, and yet you remain. Do you see? So right now, if you don't identify with any thoughts that is trying to translate your present experience, whether it's a painful experience or whatever the case may be, comfortable or uncomfortable, if you do not identify with any thoughts, meaning you don't let the thoughts translate your experience, you don't give meaning to anything that seems to be happening in the present moment experience, which is the only thing that there is, always. Notice that if you don't give it any attention, what remains is what is. Call it the peace that surpasses all understanding. And in that sense, what's wrong with any thought that appears? What's wrong with any emotion that appears? You see? But the only reason why there's a strong identification with the thought and the emotion is not because the thought is appearing or the emotion is appear, is because there's an identification with the me, and this is the problem with this question. You see? He says, how can I get rid of negative emotions? How can I get rid of negative thoughts? Yeah, but who's that me? Who's that I that is trying to get rid of emotions or thoughts? If that is not investigated, we're going to keep running in circles like a dog chasing its tail forever. This is what usually frustrates a lot, because sometimes I see how people want to surrender their feelings and their emotions. They want to overcome them, but who is the one who wants to overcome them? If you don't investigate that, all you're doing is feeding this I that claims that wants to get rid of the emotions. You see? And even if I can give you a technique or whatever the case may be, that technique is to keep feeding the believing, the seeming I, which that is the problem. It's not the emotions or the sensations. I can say, light up a candle and listen to this music and close your eyes and you may feel better. Okay, that's fine, but who is the one that is lighting the candle and is just sitting in this space listening to this music to feel better? Who's that one? See, that itself is the obstacle. This is why in the end, the message is to the undoing of the false sense of self, not to fix the false sense of self or to make the false sense of self feel different. It's about who am I. When you rest in that, then life will unfold as it will, with all these different ups and downs and whatever. Don't even call them ups and downs, with all its seeming different textures and I don't know, colors and shapes and everything. But you remain as that, and this is what the videos are pointing to. And this is not esoteric, this is not theoretical, this is very, very practical. Put it to the test right now. But again, at the beginning, it's like it appears as if you, the person, is putting it to the test, and this is where we're still missing the mark sometimes. Right now, instead of saying, if you don't identify with the thought, let's depersonalize it. If there's no identification with any thoughts, with any meanings, they will be there. The thoughts will be there, and that's fine. But right now, when there's no identification with the content of the mind, what remains? And that which remains, which is cannot be described or explained, but that intuitive beingness, that which remains, I'm going to ask you a question. That which remains is affected by any thoughts or any emotions or sensations, feelings that may appear, if they happen to appear? Not the you who thinks that right now is observing this. No, that's still the seeming individual that can be affected by any of these things. No, what remains is what I'm pointing to, which is not even that you person, that thought you that is trying to do this or trying maybe understanding this. No, 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 no. The sense of just right now beingness, pure beingness, that which is, that which remains, in which thoughts appears and disappear, in which emotions appears and disappears, but it's not fighting any of them because it's just a space, and the space which is love, it's all encompassing, accepts everything. Love doesn't judge, love doesn't reject or accept, or what I mean accept is that it doesn't choose either or, it simply is. So that is the love we're pointing to anyhow. So that which remains, can that be affected by any thought, call it a passing cloud, by any emotion, by anything that seems to appear in it? Can that be affected by it? And don't just intellectualize all this. Really bring it in and really do the investigation, and you'll realize that that is not affected by anything, and you are that. That's what we're pointing to. You see, the person is asking me the question not from the that I am, but from the thought that says I'm a person, and look at these emotions I don't want, look at the thoughts that I don't want. You see, again, we're stuck on the surface, because once again I can give you a strategy, but the strategy is only for the character, and it's only going to be temporary, because you're not the one controlling your thoughts, you're not the one controlling your emotions. If you think that I'm joking here, okay, let's put it to the test. Tell me, what is the next thought you're going to have? If you're the one choosing them, you should know what is the next thought you're going to have. Tell me, what is the next emotion you're going to have? If you're the one choosing them, then you should know. Come on, what is the next emotion you're going to have? What is the next event that is going to take place in your life? You see? But once the event takes place, or the thought happens, or the emotion takes place, then the mind goes goes right after, oh, I thought that, I chose that, I felt that. No, I don't feel anything, and I don't choose anything, and I don't think anything. Thinking happens, choosing happens, feeling happens, and yet I remain as I am. You see? That's it. I am. And that's how we rest in peace. Okay, this is inspiration that came through. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.